Hello everybody, I'm Daniel from Spacedock, and I am a huge fan of the character of Kazuta Xiono from Star Wars Resistance. And I'm sure immediately you're all thinking, what are you talking about? He is an insufferable, clownish buffoon. And yes, he is all of those things, though perhaps to a lesser extent now than he was at the start of the show. But I've been enjoying the second season quite a lot. I really enjoyed the first season, and having been watching the show with a critical eye, analysing some of its themes, I think there's quite a lot baked into this character that I really appreciate. The main kind of catalyst for my argument here is that in the second season, fourth episode, Live Fire, we see a War Games match between the station's local group of racing pilots, the Aces, and an opposing team made up only of Kaz and Yeager. Now, for context, Kaz was trained by the New Republic Navy. He was presumably an ensign before he joined the Resistance. He seemed to have some kind of flight leader position, as we see him giving orders to his wingmen in the first episode, and we're told that he graduated top of his class at the Naval Academy. Yeager is a veteran of the Galactic Civil War, and he was an Alliance X-Wing pilot. So we've got 2 military veterans against 5 racing pilots, and the military veterans wipe the floor with them, easily, because dogfighting and combat maneuvers is not something that these racing pilots know at all. But I think more than that, in this context, the Aces represent natural talent, whereas Kaz and Yeager represent trained skill, Kaz in particular. Now, science fiction in general is full to bursting with prodigies, people with mountains of untapped natural talent requiring no training, and people who have literal magic powers. And it's not very often that we get a protagonist whose abilities are solely the result of extremely hard work, long study, careful training, and dedication. Now, I think that not only is Kaz not a prodigy, but he might have sort of below average natural talent. As we see, the guy he's clumsy, he's ham-handed, he's not especially competent in anything that he hasn't been trained in. We see him forced into the role of a spy in season 1. He's not very good at that. We see him forced into the role of a technician. He's not very good at that. Although admittedly, he does work hard on that, and by the second season, he's become quite competent at it, without anyone ever really drawing attention to it. It's a nice little background arc as he gains experience there. And that's the whole message with Kaz. He works hard and he becomes good at things, in spite of his natural shortcomings. And of course, the show needs to have its slapstick comedy, it needs to have its pratfalls and its jokes, because it's primarily targeted at an audience of children. But one thing that I really appreciate that the writers have done here is they treat Kaz in the cockpit as sacred ground. There is never a joke there. He's never clumsy in that cockpit. It's never played for laughs, because he's really, really good at it. And the bursts in which we get evidence of this are really well paced. We mostly suffer through him being bad at being a spy, and being initially bad at being a technician for most of season 1. And then finally, at the end of season 1, when the Colossus is attacked and it's escaping the planet, he finally gets to show what he's really good at in the cockpit. And when that moment does come, we see clear evidence that he is an incredible pilot. The guy shoots down a Baron of the First Order who is flying a far superior ship, and he does so by pulling an insane maneuver where he flies through the superstructure of the Colossus while the Colossus is under thrust, while both the Colossus and his fighter are experiencing atmospheric pressures because everything is moving in the stratosphere at this point. He threads the needle through the whole platform, blindsides this fighter, and takes it out. And it's got to be one of the most impressive bits of combat flying we've ever seen in Star Wars. And that's fantastic. It's just wonderful to see what this guy is really good at, and the product of all of his hard work to become that way. Natural talent will get you a long way, as it obviously has for all of the ace pilots who became renowned racers, worked on various circuits before they came to the Colossus. They obviously know what they're doing, but they've never been formally trained. And when they're finally pitted against somebody who is substantially younger than them, but was well trained and dedicated, they lose immediately. That's a great message for a series to have overall. It's far more interesting than some people are just great at things, don't worry about it, which is present in quite a lot of science fiction, Star Wars especially. And it fosters just a great sense of pride in this protagonist, making it all the more satisfying when he finally gets to show off his piloting skills. Sadly, of course, Resistance is only going to run for 2 seasons, which I think is a great shame. I'm really enjoying the show. But I do really hope that we see more of Kazuta in future materials. I just love pilot characters in general. There are no shortage of great pilot characters in Star Wars Resistance, but I'm just very impressed that this character, who I originally found quite annoying, has really grown on me and become a character that I really appreciate and want to see more of. So I hope he shows up in more Star Wars fiction in the future, and I would encourage any of you who've not been watching Resistance to check it out, because it's definitely worth your time. It's a good bit of 20-minute compartmentalized entertainment with some satisfying story arcs, some some interesting characters, and in particular in the second season it's got this kind of fascinating exploration going on of why somebody would join the First Order, and some quite sympathetic elements on the side of the First Order, which is something, again, that Star Wars is sorely lacking. That's it for today. Just wanted to give a kind of short appraisal of this character that I now really appreciate, and I do hope you find this kind of viewpoint interesting. Thank you for listening. This is Daniel from Spacedock, signing off. Thank you for watching Spacedock. If you're interested in supporting the channel, please do check out the links on the screen right now or in the description below for our Patreon and channel membership services. Anything you can pledge goes towards improving our team and our equipment and allowing us to put together bigger and more exciting video projects for you guys on the channel.